All right, let's dive right into the final chapter of the book of Exodus. This is the grand finale, and it's all about how they put together this incredible, sacred, portable sanctuary right in the middle of the desert. So let's start with the big question that really frames this whole thing. If you had to build a physical home for an infinite, divine being, how would you even begin? What would that even look like? Well, the answer in this story is the tabernacle. You can think of it like a mobile command center, this sacred tent that was designed to be the absolute heart of the Israelite camp. It was the one place where heaven and earth were meant to meet.
But here's the thing, they couldn't just start hammering away. This wasn't a creative project. Nope. Before anything happened, Moses was given a very, very specific blueprint, a set of divine instructions for how every single piece was supposed to fit together. And what's really fascinating is the order of assembly. It starts with the most holy object, the Ark of the Covenant, and then works its way outward. It's this inside-out approach. You establish the very core of holiness first, and then you build the rest of the sacred space around it. Every piece had its perfect place, all following this divine logic. So, with the instructions perfectly clear, the focus shifts. The plan is set. Now it was up to Moses and the Israelites to execute that plan with absolute precision.
Okay, so now we move from the blueprint to the actual build. This part is all about the physical work, where every single action is a direct and faithful response to one of those divine commands. And the process starts exactly as they were told. Moses takes the stone tablets, the covenant itself, and places them inside the ark. This is the sacred heart of the entire structure. Then he hangs the curtain, shielding it from view. And here's a phrase you're going to hear again and again. It becomes the drumbeat for this whole chapter, as the Lord commanded him. It really hammers home that this is an act of perfect obedience, not human guesswork. Next, he moves on to the other furniture. The table is brought in, the sacred bread is arranged just so. Again, another specific instruction followed to the letter. And there it is again, that same powerful refrain. See, this repetition isn't just for emphasis. It builds this rhythm, this sense of a community moving in perfect sync with the divine plan. Finally, the work moves to the outer areas. The main altar for offerings gets set up right at the entrance to the tabernacle, and the very first offerings are made. And one last time, the text drives the point home. From setting the posts to arranging the furniture, every single action was a fulfillment of a command. The whole assembly was basically a physical act of listening and responding. But just building the structure wasn't enough. For this space and the people who would serve in it to be truly set apart, they needed to be consecrated, transformed from something ordinary into something holy. And this transformation from mundane to holy happened through anointing with secret oil. It wasn't just the tent itself, but every single object inside it, the altars, the lamps, the basins, and crucially, the people who were designated to serve, Aaron and his sons, were also anointed, marking them for their unique and sacred role. So after all the pieces were in place and everything was anointed, the last steps of the construction were completed. The foundations, the frames, the tent coverings, and finally the outer courtyard. And with that, the text gives us this simple but powerful statement. And so Moses finished the work. This is the moment everything has been building towards. The structure is finished, the priests are consecrated, the home has been built exactly as commanded. The only question left is, will the divine presence actually come and dwell there? And the climax of the entire book of Exodus is right here. The answer is an overwhelming yes. A cloud, which is the visible sign of God's presence, comes down and covers the tent, and then, as the text says, the glory of the Lord just filled the entire structure. So, how intense was this presence? Well, it was so intense that no one could enter, not even Moses, the man who had spoken with God on the mountain. He couldn't go inside. The sheer weight of that divine glory was just too overwhelming for any human at that moment. But this wasn't just a one-time spectacle. This divine presence had a really profound and practical purpose for the Israelites' journey ahead. It basically became their compass, their GPS through the wilderness. And the system was beautifully simple. When the cloud over the tabernacle lifted, that was the signal to pack up camp and move.
If the cloud stayed put, they stayed put. Their entire journey was now directed by this visible divine sign.
What this all meant was that the Israelites now had a constant, unmistakable guide. By day, it was a cloud, which probably provided some welcome shade from the desert sun. And by night, it became a pillar of fire, giving them light and warmth. It was always visible, a continuous reassurance to the entire camp that they were not lost and they were not alone.
And that really brings us to our final thought. This whole chapter is about creating a sacred space through precise action and divine presence. And it leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. What truly makes a place holy? Is it the materials, the ritual, the obedience? Or is it the presence that ultimately chooses to show up and dwell there?